You don't need a mansion or a Hollywood name to leave behind a story that's more than just fame.
Me to need a will, just a family, or a cat plotting world domination. Welcome to Celebrity Estate Chaos, where we prove a lot of things. Like how estate chaos isn't just for millionaires with private islands, anyone with stuff, relatives, or that one weird collection you think nobody's fighting over. And chances are, they will. Anyone.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are plunging into something that is just one of the most overwhelming challenges a lot of adults are facing right now, the reality of caregiving.
And the sources we've looked at, they don't pull any punches. They have this very blunt phrase for it.
They really do. They call it the Big House of Horror Caregiver Edition.
Which sounds dramatic, I know, but it's not about being theatrical.
No, it's about capturing the surprising chaos of it all. The core idea from our research is really simple. Caregiving is the job you never actually applied for. 1 minute you're just living your life, and the next you're suddenly juggling medications and appointments and emotional meltdowns. It's like you've become a pro-circus act overnight.
And our mission today, really, for anyone who's listening and finds themselves in that spot, is to pull back the curtain. We want to talk about the things nobody warns you about.
Exactly, to get into the survival strategies.
Right. From the psychological traps like the guilt and burnout, all the way to the hardcore logistics of what happens when you need to travel, we're aiming to give you a kind of blueprint.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning.
Yeah.
The entry point. Because the sources are, they're almost unanimous on this.
They are. Most people don't decide to become a caregiver. They trip into it.
Or fall into it. It never starts with some big formal plan.
Never. It starts small. The material calls them the seemingly harmless requests. It's just temporary or...
Can you just stop by to check on Mom while I'm away?
That's the one. That little favor. That's the catalyst. And then, as we see time and again, weeks turn into months.
Months into years.
And you suddenly wake up and realize you have a new full-time job. A high-stress, unpaid job.
It's a total identity shift, isn't it? You're not just a daughter or a spouse anymore. You're a case manager. You're a nurse.
A personal chauffeur.
All of it rolled into one. And the sources are so honest about the cost. They say this new job has no vacation days, and the benefits mostly consist of heartburn and caffeine.
It's brutal. It just fundamentally changes your life. It can sideline your career, drain your savings, cut you off from your friends.
Yeah. There's this one analogy the material uses that I found really powerful. It calls caregiving love's toughest workout.
It is powerful, and you do gain this incredible strength, but, that language can sometimes romanticize just how exhausting it is.
How so?
You're using emotional muscles you didn't even know you had. Like the constant effort needed for lifting 80 pounds of guilt every single time you even think about taking a break.
That guilt, that seems to lead right into what the sources call the Chaos Chronicles.
Yes, the hidden stuff, the logistical and psychological battles that nobody really talks about.
It sounds like trying to navigate a season of The Amazing Race mixed with Grey's Anatomy, but with
no prize money. And no dramatic soundtrack to help you through it.
Exactly. So what are these traps? What are the biggest things people need to be aware of?
Well, from a psychological standpoint, these are the real sneak attacks. They get you long before you, physically collapse.
Okay.
The first one is decision fatigue. It's just the relentless, nonstop need to make choices.
Medical decisions, what they should eat, financial stuff.
All of it. All high stakes, all needing your immediate attention. And that just leads to you feeling completely overwhelmed, where you start questioning everything, from tiny things like what to wear to huge life choices.
So what can you do about that? I mean, you can't just decide to make fewer decisions.
You can't. So the key is not freedom, it's actually structure. The sources say you should pre-decide.
Pre-decide?
Yeah. Create really simple, rigid routines for the low-stakes stuff. Monday is always soup night. Tuesday's always chicken. You take 10 small daily decisions and turn them into one decision for the whole week. It saves your mental energy for what really matters.
That makes a lot of sense. So what's next after decision fatigue?
The emotional side, what the research calls invisible stress. This is that slow burn anxiety that just builds and builds under the surface.
Right. You think you're holding it all together.
You think you're fine. You're managing the schedule, staying calm, until you cry over a dropped spoon.
Oh, that's such a visceral image, the drop spoon moment.
That's the moment the sneak attack lands. It's when you realize your stresses become physical, it shows up as headaches or insomnia or just this constant tension in your shoulders.
And the solution?
It's counterintuitive. You have to schedule time off, mandate it, even just 30 minutes where you physically walk out of the house and you don't answer your phone. It doesn't matter if you feel like you need it or not, you just do it.
And I imagine that's tied directly to the next one, the thing that seems to come with the territory, caregiver guilt.
It comes free with every shift, as the sources say. You feel bad when you're helping. Maybe you think you weren't patient enough.
And you feel even worse when you're not helping, when you try to take that 30-minute walk.
Exactly. And that guilt, it fuels the most dangerous trap of all, the I'm fine trap.
Which is code for what?
It's caregiver code for, I'm about to collapse, but I don't want to admit it. It's denial. It's this idea that if you admit you're struggling, then you've somehow failed the person you're caring for.
And that's the direct path to burnout.
Total burnout.
But there's no manual for this, right? I mean, as you said, people are learning by doing, crying, and sometimes Googling the wrong thing.
Right, while developing these ninja-level multitasking skills just to survive.
Like trying to talk to a pharmacist while opening 3 pill bottles with one hand.
And on top of all that, you have to manage the social stuff, specifically the well-meaning relatives.
Ah, yes, the ones who have a lot of advice.
Tons of advice from a safe distance, but they disappear the second there's actual work to do.
So how do you handle that?
The sources are really specific here. Don't just say, I need help. That's too vague. You have to give them a small, specific, time-bound task. So when your brother calls and asks how he can help, you don't say, can you take mom for an hour? You say, I need someone to be in charge of her Friday physiotherapy appointments and deal with the insurance company. Can you handle just that one thing and text me an update each week?
That's brilliant. It's concrete. It's much harder to say no to that.
It makes it harder to deflect, and it gives you real, tangible relief.
Okay, that's a fantastic takeaway. Let's pivot now. Let's talk about what happens when you try to leave the house, because the sources are clear on this. Caregiving doesn't take a vacation.
No, it just changes its location. Chaos travels well.
And that must be terrifying, because you have a system at home for the meds, the mobility.
And you take that system into a new airport or a hotel, and every single part of it can become a potential crisis.
The sources had some really stressful examples of this.
They did. I mean, the relaxing cruise that turned into a frantic middle-of-the-night search for an oxygen adapter because the plug on the ship was different.
Or booking the accessible room.
Only to find out accessible means you have to get past 2 steps and a decorative pond to get to the door.
It's unbelievable. And what about just the stress of airports? Trying to explain medical equipment to security or a loved one's hearing aids start whistling at 30,000 feet.
It's not a vacation. It's just a different kind of stress, a much higher kind of stress.
So if chaos travels that well, what do the sources say? How do you manage it? What does a real travel-ready plan look like?
The plan has to be your weapon against the chaos, and it needs to meet 3 criteria. First, it has to be easy to get to, not buried under a pile of mail.
Right.
Second, it has to be updated all the time because meds and needs can change week to week. And third, it has to be ready for any trip, whether it's cross town to a specialist or across the country.
To do that, you need what the sources called the magic sidekick.
Yes, the emergency supplies kit,
Yeah.
or the caregiver go bag. They call it your sanity in a sack.
And this isn't about being paranoid. It's not for a hurricane.
No, it's for when you're stuck in the ER for 6 hours unexpectedly and your phone is at 2%. That's the kind of emergency we're talking about.
So let's get specific. What's in the bag?
Okay, first, copies of all the critical medical info, contacts, medication lists, and you need both digital and printed copies.
Because if your phone dies, you need that piece of paper.
Absolutely. Second, portable chargers and power banks. That is non-negotiable. A dead battery in a crisis just multiplies the chaos.
Okay, what else?
Third, extra supplies. Spare glasses, extra hearing aid batteries, little things you don't think about until you desperately need them. Also, a small notebook.
To write things down.
Immediately. To track symptoms or jot down what the doctor is saying, because when you're stressed, you will forget the details. And snacks. Hanger, as one source puts it, is the enemy of clear thinking.
I can believe that. And what about the list of local hospitals?
Crucial. A laminated list of local hospitals and 24-hour pharmacies for wherever you're going. You don't want to be scrolling through Google Maps in a panic trying to find a specialty pharmacy at 2 a.m.
This all brings us to a really important point the sources make. These plans have to be customized.
They have to be. As they say, every family has its own brand of chaos. A generic checklist from the internet just isn't going to cut it.
So how do you customize it?
It really depends on who you're caring for. If it's for seniors, the focus is almost entirely logistical. It's about mobility, preventing falls, so checklists for grab bars, clear pathways, that kind of thing. And medication management is paramount.
Right. And if you're caring for a child or a partner with, say, a chronic condition?
Then the focus shifts. It's all about routine and familiarity. Routine is gold. Any disruption can cause a huge amount of stress. So the plan is about keeping their environment predictable. Consistent meal times, sensory inputs, things like that.
Okay. And then there's the last category for people caring solo.
And for them, the plan has to be focused externally because you are the single point of failure. You have to build a formal backup squad.
A backup squad. I like that.
It's essential. And it's not just having friends who can be around. It's giving them specific roles. One person is on medication pickups. Another is the emergency contact who knows where the spare key and the go bag are. You build a real actionable support system.
So when we pull all of this together, falling into the job, the psychological weight, the travel logistics, the custom plans, it all just points to one thing. That caregiving is just messy, it's exhausting, and it's completely unpredictable.
It is. But the sources also really emphasize the caregiver's resilience. You are the glue that's holding everything together. They describe the role as equal parts love, resilience, and stubbornness wrapped in caffeine and compassion.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It seems the final secret, then, is that the goal can't be perfection. That's impossible.
The goal is preparation. You don't have to get rid of the fear. You just have to be ready for the chaos. You're the one keeping the lights on in that big house of horror.
And preparation is what makes it manageable.
Exactly. And that brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. The sources suggest that every crisis, once you survive it, it eventually turns into a great story later.
Right.
So given all this unpredictability, what's one small, tangible step you could take today? Maybe it's finally creating that printed medication list or texting a friend to formalize your backup squad. What can you do right now to make sure you have the resilience to be able to tell that survival story tomorrow?
That's a wrap for today's chaos. If you learned something, laughed a little, or now feel slightly more prepared for life's curveballs, we've done our job. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel and follow us on social media. Catch us on Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere podcasts make you rethink your to-do list. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, if it's important and unexpected, we probably cover it. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.